One rather deep frustration in arguing about faith with theists is their assumption that the only God being argued for or against is theirs, the one they personally believe in. Take Pascal's wager, for example. Those of you who don't know it should probably look it up, but the basic idea is that if you don't believe and God is real, you're going to hell. But if God isn't real, then you haven't lost anything, so you might as well believe just to be safe. Why God wants belief so badly instead of proving he exists to get our loyalty, why this just-in-case belief instead of the real thing wouldn't piss God off, and the fact that you'd actually lose quite a bit of your life to unnecessary worship if God isn't real tends to just get glossed over. But even more than that, what gets glossed over is that you might just be believing in the wrong God. Suppose you take Pascal's wager and believe in the Christian God, only to discover later that Zeus, Odin, or Amun-Ra turns out to be the real God after all. Oops. And this is a very important point. You see, an atheist is not, or at least not necessarily, someone who has rejected all religion 100%. An atheist is just someone who lacks belief in any of the gods which have been presented to them. To reject a god, that god must first be proposed. If I have rejected the Christian, Islamic, Jewish, Norse, Greco-Roman, and Asian gods, that doesn't mean that I would necessarily reject mumbo-jumbo monkey god of the Congo completely out of hand. I need to have the case for mumbo-jumbo presented to me first before I can reject it. That's why atheism is a neutral position. You start from the point of having no gods, then someone proposes one and you consider whether their proposal holds up under careful scrutiny, whether the evidence for that god makes sense. Then you accept it or reject it. If you reject it, you continue to be an atheist, and if not, you've become a theist. But rejecting one god does not make you an atheist for all time or for all gods. If it did, then anyone in a religion other than yours is also an atheist. Nor does being an atheist require rejecting all gods forever. All it takes to be an atheist is to have not yet found a god in which you believe, whether you ever do or don't. The word God is not just a generic placeholder for some mystical energy being to a lot of atheists. You're talking about something specific, and I have very little interest in debating whether some generic deity may or may not exist. Present an actual case for a deity, define what you mean, then we'll discuss its existence. Some people would have us believe that this is the definition of an agnostic, but an agnostic is one who has heard of a god about which they kinda believe, but not quite, a person who isn't sure. An atheist is one who doesn't believe at all in gods X, Y, or Z, which they've heard about, and will make a judgment on gods A, B, and C just as soon as said gods are proposed to them. This is one of the many reasons why atheists keep demanding evidence instead of having faith. We're not just deciding whether we believe in some monolithic God concept, we're deciding whether your God has a bigger dick than someone else's God. You're gonna have to prove to us that a God exists and that it's your God as opposed to someone else's. So keep in mind that just arguing for a God and having your God rejected does not then translate to the person you're arguing with being against all gods forever. Don't reason from 1 to infinity. Remember that your God is just one of many that have been proposed over the millennia, that yours may end up being just as refuted or lacking in evidence as all the others, and that this has only a tiny bearing on whether or not there is a God at all. So when you're arguing for the existence of a God, be sure to tell us which God you're arguing for and what that God's attributes are like, then present evidence for it. And realize that having your God disproved does not mean that there isn't a God, or that atheists are dogmatically against there being a God, only that no one has ever convinced them that one exists.